and enormous gratitude that we welcome young Lee from Sheffield, who's come to share for about 30 minutes, after which we'll open up for sharing. So young, at this point, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Thank you so much, James, for your service today. Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name's Young. I'm a very grateful recovered alcoholic today. Very grateful. Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate Christmas. It's really good to be here. It's good to be free. It's good to have a new life. I was just, as I was listening to that reading, I was thinking about what led me into the rooms of AA. I was thinking about where I was 4 years ago, because it was my sobriety birthday yesterday, and 4 years ago I was waking up today in a rehab in yet another treatment centre, because I'd been to 4 treatment centres, I think, and 6 detoxes and psychiatric units, and whatever I seemed to do on my own power, I couldn't stay stopped, no matter how great the necessity or wish. And there was many necessities in my life for me to stay stopped. And I just couldn't do that on my own power. And when I picked up, I just couldn't, a light bulb went off in my head, and I just couldn't stop. And I love this reading because, it's significant for me because I do have a new life today. My old life is, the person I used to be is that person has died. It does not exist anymore. But all I wanted to do when I came into these rooms was stop drinking, was stop relapsing, and that would have been enough, because I didn't know what a spiritual awakening was. I didn't know what a psychic change was. I'd never been through one, so I had no understanding of those things. The best that I could hope for when I came in absolutely destroyed and scared and full of fear and broken, the best at that moment was just to not drink. But I remember my sponsor said to me, there's so much more than not drinking, Young. There's so much more, and you don't have any idea just yet. But I trusted that man, because he had this calmness about him. He had this serenity. He had this humility, and he'd been around the room for quite a long time. And he told me that he lived a certain way, and it was all based around God, or if you don't like that word, higher power. And I trusted him, I had nowhere else to go. I think it's Russell S. who says, and I often share it because I think it sums it up wonderfully. He said, we shouldn't speak about God in the rooms because we'll scare people away. We'll scare away the newcomer. Where are we going to scare them to? There was nowhere else for me to go. So when I heard that word God, and I had no experience of God before, or higher power or spirit, it didn't scare me because I had nowhere else to go. The end of my drinking looked like it was me in a tiny flat. I had no possessions. I was a thief, a liar, a cheat, a criminal. I looked like I was dying, and I was dying. I was dying inside. I was dying spiritually. My soul was absolutely broken. But I can see today that was the best gift I was ever given. That was that gift of desperation, where suddenly I'm willing to say, I can't do this. I know that on my own power I can't do this. Because my step 1 tells me on my own power I'm going to drink again. My step 1 tells me that there's nothing that I can do. There's no force that I can bring into my mind strong enough to keep me from drinking once that mental obsession comes in. Once that lie comes into my head and tells me it'll be different this time. I'm unable to bring my history into play, because I'd been around the rooms for about 10 years, just going to meetings. And as wonderful and as beautiful and as important as meetings are, they don't get me to this spiritual awakening. They don't get me to this new life. They don't get me to this change in attitude, behaviour, reaction to life that I need to get to, that the doctor in the doctor's opinion tells me is essential for me to recover, for me to get well. It's essential for me to be able to flow through life in all its challenges and not pick up a drink. Because life is going to come at me, and life is coming at me, because that's life. And I'm able to embrace it, the good, the bad, the ugly, the sad. I watched a film last night with my kids, with my youngest kids, because I can see my oldest child is on this meeting today because he's in recovery, and how beautiful is that? That fills me with joy. I was watching Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, and what it reminded me of, this is a very spiritual, and I've never seen it that way before, because I have new eyes today. And when they were talking about the ghost of the Christmas past, and the Christmas present and the Christmas future, it made me think of the 4 horsemen, that terror, bewilderment, frustration and despair. Because when my previous Christmases, or most days actually when I was out there, I used to be absolutely terrified of my present, bewildered by my present, baffled by my past, baffled by my future, except, I could never sit comfortably and embrace life for all its goodness and all its challenges. I needed a new set of glasses. I needed those things because else I was just going to drink again. And it says here, doesn't it? It says in that reading, I've jotted a few things down from that reading because I always forget. It says, sobriety is but a beginning. It was but the beginning. Me going through those 12 steps and having a spiritual awakening was but a beginning. Me starting to take people through the 12 steps and have another awakening was but a beginning. Me waking up this morning is but a beginning. Suddenly, I go from that hopeless alcoholic who seems everything so spiky and so painful that I need to take a drink to get that sense of ease and comfort, to waking up thinking, today's got a real possibility. Today I might see laughter on my children. Today I might be able to turn my attention and help another alcoholic. Today I might be able to be useful rather than to take from the world, which was what I was all about. Because I discovered as I was going through the 12 steps that alcohol wasn't the issue. I always thought it was. It was my selfishness and self-centeredness driven by 100 forms of fear, which I had no idea. It was so revealing going through these 12 steps. Because I used to believe that alcohol was my problem. I used to believe that chuck me in a detox unit and I'll come out of there and I'll be cured and I'll be happy and I won't be sad and I won't feel the need to smash myself up on alcohol at any moment. Because when we talk about triggers, there is no triggers today. The problem's been removed. Waking up was a trigger. Someone looking at me the wrong way was a trigger. I'd be worried about what people would think about me when I'm sharing. Those things are not there today. Most of the time. The first detox unit I went in, when I came out of that place, I didn't feel better. I felt worse. I felt like I'd been ripped out of my mother's womb. Everything felt really spiky. Because when I picked up that first drink at 11 years old, and I had that drink, and it felt nice, and so I had more and more and more until I passed out actually. All I knew is life felt better. Life felt less spiky. I didn't care that my name was not Michael or John or David because I always felt very different. I didn't care about those things. I wasn't embarrassed when I spoke to girls. It did for me what I couldn't do for myself. We hear this a lot in the rooms, but it was like a spiritual awakening for me. Suddenly I was rocketed into this other dimension that felt amazing. Unfortunately, I just couldn't stop over the years, and I found out when my sponsor guided me through this big book that I suffer from a progressive illness. And when he told me to change, statements into questions in the big book, because he said it's really important you make this personal to you, because there might be some things that you don't relate to, but the things that you do, the really important things about, the mental obsession, the allergy, the spiritual malady, and I related to all those things hugely, and it made sense to me. And in the same way that I discovered it was a progressive illness, it should have been obvious to me. It should have been obvious to me when I lost my family, I lost my job, I lost all those things, but I still carried on. And it was getting worse and worse. It should have been very obvious to me it was progressive, but I couldn't see the truth from the false. My alcoholic life was the only one that I'd ever known from the age of, I was drinking at 11, who knows when I crossed that line, but I'd just always drunk. So, what's happened to me when I started going through these 12 steps out of absolute desperation, out of trying everything else, trying therapy and rehabs and detoxes, and seeing those things weren't working for me. Seeing that when I come out of detoxes and I've put on a bit of weight and I've got new trainers and I think I'm really well, and then I see someone drinking on the street and my head tells me, that looks okay. And I believe the lie. I use again and again and again. So when I started going through these 12 steps out of desperation, something started changing in me, really quickly in fact. Because some people used to say to me, it will take you a long time to get well. It will take you a long time. I started changing pretty quickly, and I know this is a daily event of growing spiritually. I know that. But if there's any newcomers in here today, I believe I had my first spiritual awakening at step 4 after a few weeks. Because I was willing to just take suggestions off my sponsor. I was willing to try and find this power that I had no idea that I needed so desperately, that I need so desperately in my life today. Because when it also said, the endless possibilities if we continue awakening through the practice of the 12 steps. The endless possibilities if I continue awakening, because the spiritual awakening is not a one-time deal. I could go to sleep like that, because I see it a lot in the rooms. I could go to sleep like that. I could suddenly get my old eyes on if I'm not practicing certain steps, like step 10, for example, and I'm not watching out for my fears coming up and my selfishness and my resentment. My old eyes can come back like that. But thank God it's not like that today. Thank God. I'm beyond grateful. I'm beyond grateful for this program. Like I said at the beginning, all I wanted to do was stop drinking. And I remember my sponsor saying to me, I wish I could touch you like this and show you your possibilities, show you your potential. Because at the end of my drinking, I hadn't worked for 5 years. 4 years ago and a week, let's say, I was in a psychiatric unit. I was in a psychiatric unit, a place that seemed really comfortable, and I thought my life was over. I thought it was washed out. I didn't know any alcoholics who'd recovered. I'd been in the rooms, but maybe I just didn't see it. I didn't hear people talking about the big book. Maybe they were, that I wasn't hearing it. Maybe I wasn't ready. But when my sponsor started guiding me through this book, I was just like we've got these things in the book, haven't we, that says these warnings that these guys give us, these beautiful, amazing guys who wrote this stuff, Bill and all the rest of them. Half measures avail us nothing. No middle of the road solution. And I thought, you know what, my sponsor used to always say, do you want your recovery, your spiritual life to be like, meh? Or do you want to be rocketed into this 4th dimension? And I thought, I want to be rocketed. So I thought, I'm not going to do half measures. I'm not going to do half measures. Why would I? I can see how painful that looks. I can see how painful doing half measures looks, and I didn't want that. I didn't drink in a half measured way. I didn't do middle of the road drinking. So my recovery needs to look the same. Me getting to God needs to look the same. My devotion to God, to a higher power, needs to be no half measures. I started the day today like I always do, on my knees. I'm letting this power in. I'm praying for other people. I'm praying for my children. I'm seeing what can I do today to help another person who's suffering. All these things that was alien to me when I came into this program. Absolutely alien. And I've meditated because I've been shown these beautiful practices that help me flow through life. Help me stay connected to God. Help me stay connected to goodness. Help me continue to grow into this new life. Because my old life, I used to think I had the monopoly on pain and misery and I used to live in self-pity city. I really did. Most Christmases I'd always look at other people and think, oh, their families look great and mine's terrible. I wasn't able to see the beauty that was right in front of me. That's what this new life has given me. Being able to see the reality. The reality is I've got everything I need, and I don't mean materially. I don't have a lot materially. I don't need it. I'm able to see that I have everything. I have my health. I have the ability to help someone else. I've been blessed with these gifts that I didn't know existed. And I know today God's always been there. Just not been able to see. I've just been blinded by alcohol. I've been blinded by my own selfish, self-centered way of looking at life. So these are the things that this 12-step program helped me and continues to help me to do. Live in a way that I'm able to see possibilities in life. Live in a way that I have ease and comfort. I see a lot of messages this morning and say, oh, if you're struggling, and I really hope you're not struggling. I don't have to struggle. No one has to struggle. I used to think that being in a 12-step program meant sat around in a church hall, holding on for dear life, saying, this is so difficult, I just need to get through today. As long as I get through today sober, that's good enough. For me, that's not good enough. I don't want to just endure life. I want to embrace life in all its entirety. I want to embrace life. I've wasted so much of it, and I'm not going to waste another moment. And I don't have to through the continual practice of these 12 steps, through the continual practice of my spiritual life. And even me saying that, if I was to say that to my old self 4 years ago, I would have laughed, because I couldn't see the future. I couldn't see what might have happened. It doesn't matter how broken someone is to get this stuff. I've never met anyone too stupid to embrace this spiritual life, this program, but I've met many people too clever, or they think they're too clever. I like that thing that Bill says, something like, the icy intellectual mountain whose shadow I'd shivered for many years was finally gone. I love that. And I think I shared this the other day. Things started changing for me when I stopped saying, yeah, I know. When my sponsor was taking me through the book and I was saying, I know. And he said, Young, shut up. You don't know. Your knowing has got you to where you are today, in the gutter. You're saying, I know, has got you into loads of rehabs. It's your thinking that's the problem. We need to get out of that. We need to kind of turn towards something better. You need to cut away your old self. And that's the hardest thing for me to give up. It wasn't the alcohol, it's my self-will. And that's what this spiritual practice helps me with each day. To try and turn towards God, turn towards good, turn away from myself and turn towards something better. That fills me full of joy, full of happiness, full of peace. 99% of the time. 99% of the time. So as I was saying, as I started going through those 12 steps, something magical started to happen to me, a transformation. Because I was scared of those words when I came in. I was scared of the word God. I was scared of the word spiritual awakening, psychic change. I was scared of all these things that I didn't have any understanding of. And my sponsor explained it to me like this. He talked about the word prejudice, which it uses a lot in the chapter We Agnostics. He said, prejudice, Young. It's like you saying to Mike, or Mike saying to you, do you want coffee? And I say, I don't like coffee, Mike. Mike says, have you ever tried coffee, Young? I've never tried coffee, Mike. I just know I won't like it. That coffee might be the most beautiful thing I've ever tasted, but I'm saying, no, I just know I won't like it. That was like me with the spiritual life with God. No, I just know. I didn't know. But my sponsor explained things very simply. He's a very gentle man. He guided me through, but he was under no, he was like, look, you've got two choices. You either carry on the way you're going, and you're going to die, Young. You know that. You're going to die. You look like you've just been dug up. You've got bones sticking out your cheeks. You're wearing rags. You carry on this road, trying on your own self-will, on your own thinking to stay sober. How is that going for you so far in your life up to the age you're at? Or you get on this other path and you accept a spiritual solution. What's it to be? You've got A or B. There's no other choice for someone like you. It was an easy choice when he put it like that. When he explained that a psychic change just meant that as I'd go through these 12 steps, my attitude would change. My reaction to life would change. I wouldn't be so spiky anymore. He explained it like that. And those things have happened. Those things have happened to me. I also thought on this reading, when there's something else in the book, because we're talking about a new life and we're talking about the endless possibilities, and it talked about is sobriety all that's promised from a spiritual awakening. And there was something in the book that says, a man is unthinking or a woman is unthinking when they say sobriety is enough. There's so much more than that. And then the other phrase which kind of on the other page which sprung to mind was, which my sponsor used to always bang into me, the spiritual life is not a theory, Young, he said. We have to live it. 24 hours a day. We have to live this life. There's no good you just learning this book, this beautiful big book. Any fool can learn the book, he told me. Any fool can learn it. Are you practicing it in your life? Are you feeling the flow of the Spirit in you? Are you feeling this sunlight? Or are you just quoting stuff like this on a meeting and then leave a meeting and then you're cussing and you're treating people badly and all that? The spiritual life is not a theory. I have to live it. I have to practice it. I have to nurture it. Because I fall short all the time. But I can practice, and I have a choice today. For all those years, many years, I think the last 10 years of my drinking, when I was dependent, I didn't want to drink. Those last 10 years. The party was over. I didn't have a choice. When I woke up in the morning with those 4 horsemen, who I was on first names with, they were knocking at my door. Hello, young, here we go again. I didn't have a choice. I knew what was going to happen throughout the day. I knew. I had to drink. I didn't have a choice. Today I've got choice. I have a choice today. When I wake up in the morning, I can plug into fear or I can plug into faith. What's it to be for me? If I start my day on Facebook or on Instagram or watching the news or reading a newspaper, I'm plugging into my fears. I am plugging into my fears, because someone like me, I'll start comparing myself to others and thinking, oh, my life looks rubbish. My old eyes will come back into play. Or I look at the world and I think, I'm like that Florida businessman lolling in the sunshine, moaning about the sad state, and oh, look at this, and war, and this, and this, and this. So I choose not to do that. I plug into my faith. I have to plug into the power. I have to. Not just I have to, I want to. Because the more I do it, the better I feel. The more I get into this stuff, because look, compared to a lot of you on this meeting, I'm a baby in this stuff. 4 years, I've got my tricycle, stabilizers on, right? But I feel on fire. I feel on fire with this stuff. I really do. I have to plug in. I have to keep on plugging in. And as I was saying, the more I do, the more people I take through the book, the better I feel. The more phone calls I take off those newcomers, the better I feel. I think it's Ali H who says, right? He says, look, it's not about being happy, life. It's about being useful. And as a direct kind of, I don't know what word I'm looking for, about being useful, I just get happiness anyway. Because I've always been looking for connection. I just didn't know it. I've always been looking for happiness, desperately searching, thinking, I need to be happy, or my head's going to fall off. I need this. No. I need to turn my attention to you. Because when I do that, I feel at ease with myself. When I do that, I'm not in that kind of restless, irritable and discontent nature that seems to be my default setting. So when I got to about 6 months, I started sponsoring guys. And I've always had sponsees from then. Always. Head always in the book. Because then I'm always learning. And I'm going through the steps with someone again at the moment. Because the guys that have been around a lot longer than me, they always seem to say, yeah, we go through the steps about once a year, once every 2 years. And I thought it would make sense for me to do what these guys who are still on fire, who have been around 10, 20, 30, 40, even 50 years, I'm going to do what they do. They seem to have this freedom. They seem to have this peace within them that was 1,000,000 miles away from where I was when I came in. 1,000,000 miles away. 4 years ago, when I woke up Christmas Day in that rehab, I was shaking. I was terrified, full of fear, full of self-pity, thinking, oh my God, how have I ended up? I'm in a rehab again. I spent 4 Christmases in rehabs. And we watched Bill's story the day after. We watched Bill's story because it's a rehab that you just do big book in there, right? I work in that rehab today. And we watched Bill's story. And this is where I was mentally. All I got after watching that film is a massive resentment. I looked at Lois Wilson. I thought, if my ex was like Lois Wilson, I wouldn't be in here. I just had this huge resentment. That was where my eyes were. When I watch it today, when I read it today, I see it in a very different light. So I went through the steps, and something changed really quickly. Step 4 and 5 for me, and I spoke about this the other night, and if there's any newcomers on the meeting, a lot of people say, oh, step 4 and 5, beautiful step of freedom, the step into the beautiful unknown, the step where I started to feel a change. My faith started to grow, because at the beginning, my faith was tiny. It was actually, and I know there's no human power, but for me at the beginning, it was just people that were on fire in the rooms. Then for me, I had belief in them. I had belief in the 12-step program. I thought, okay, it will work for me. Because I also said this to my sponsor. Because remember, I'd been in the rooms for about 10 years without working a single step. I said to him, this program isn't going to work for me. I've done it. It's not going to work. He said, Young, you're not that special. I said, yes, I am. He said, no, you're not. You're a bog standard alcoholic. It's been working for millions of people since the 1930s, continues to do so. And you're saying it won't work for you? Do you see how insane you are? And I thought, okay, maybe it will. And when we think about step 2, it kind of tells me I'm insane, or it implies I'm insane, doesn't it? If I need to be restored to sanity, I'm insane in some sort of ways, particularly around alcohol. I keep on putting my hand in the fire and it's burning me. Even a little child, once they put a hand in a hot stove, a little child, their brain is able to give them direction and say, ow, okay. As an adult, I'm not able to do that because I have this mental blank spot. So I was willing to believe in something. I was willing to believe. I was making a decision. I'm all in. And then step 4 and 5, something started to happen to me. My faith started to grow And then I'm just all in. And then we get to 6 or 7, the pinnacle of the program, Joe and Charlie calls them. Because it's my defects of character that will keep me blocked off from my new life. It's my anger, my fear, my resentment, my jealousy. That will keep me blocked off from the sunlight of the Spirit. They're the things I have to watch out for. They're the things when I have my step 10 daily practice and I automatically watch out for these things. Or maybe I don't watch out for them. Maybe I just feel them today and they don't sit right with me. Because when people used to say, what I could get away with last year, Young, I can't get away with this year. And I understand what they mean. I got a resentment the other day, and I won't go into it. But straight away, I just fell to my knees because I could feel it because a snake bite, it's not the bite that kills you, it's the venom. It felt like venom going through me. And I'm like, God, please help me with this. And then I pick up the phone to my sponsor. And then I pick up the phone to a newcomer. By the end of that process, it had gone absolutely. Whereas if I was trying to get rid of that resentment with my own thinking, it would have just got worse and worse and worse and worse. So I've got these daily practices. I've got my daily practice of step 10. I've got my daily step 11 practice. In the morning, I just do what it says in the book. I pray a lot. I meditate a lot. And, I meditate a lot these days, but it didn't start off like that. Because my head was crazy when I came into this place. It started off 1 minute a day. Because my sponsor said, the important thing with this whole program, meditation as well, but the whole program, Young, is the consistency. The consistency. Because he said, if you think about the word spiritual, within that word is the word ritual. You had certain rituals, you need to replace them. So I started off meditating 1 minute a day over a few weeks, then 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and now it's as important to me today as eating and drinking. It really is. And then step 12 practice, the most beautiful practice of helping my fellows, intensive work with another alcoholic. All other bits of service are great, but intensive work one-on-one is just, wow. That's when I really felt something really shifting in me, something really changing in me. Seeing those guys recover, seeing those guys who are as broken as I am now doing the same thing, and then them doing the same thing. It's beautiful. Works in rough going, as it says in the book. Works in rough going. When all else fails, intensive work with another. That's the beautiful thing about this book, and I know my time's coming up soon. Is that everything, it's just got such clear-cut directions in there for me to get to this power, which I'll call God, and how I keep it there. And it's absolutely beautiful. So I'm just going to end it by saying, I'm beyond grateful to be alive today. I'm beyond grateful. I'm beyond grateful to be given these new glasses. I'm beyond grateful for those old-timers who were kind, who were patient, and showed me love when I didn't have any love for myself. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas, and thanks for listening. Thank you.
Young, thank you so much for that. That was absolutely amazing, as ever. And yeah, just sort of while people are gathering their thoughts.